The Fabulous 413 podcast is funded by the UMass 5 College Credit Union, dedicated to creating access to financial well-being for local people, businesses, and communities. Insured by NCUA, umass5.coop. The Fabulous 413 podcast is funded by the UMass Amherst School of Public Policy, offering in-person and online graduate programs in public policy and data analytics. Admissions now open at umass.edu/SPP.
Welcome to the Fabulous 413. I'm Khalees Smith.
And I'm Monty Belmonte. Later in the show, we'll check in with Holyoke Mayor Joshua Garcia to inaugurate a new segment we're launching called Mayor of the Month.
And we'll process our feelings about the biggest sporting event in the U.S. as the Seahawks gained a ring and the Patriots at least got to dance to Bad Bunny with the rest of us.
But first, a warm welcome home to our resident astronomer, Salman Hamid.
Even if it felt a little colder than usual because of the icy onslaughts.
To boldly go where no man has gone before.
Time for some more kitchen table astronomy, but maybe some kitchen table commiserating with Hampshire College astronomer and the founder of Kainat Studios, Dr. Salman Hamid, Mr. Universe. Some of the good news is you just got back from a couple weeks in Pakistan where you were inaugurating this new venue and space where people can look at space, and an art gallery and this wonderful tech school in Karachi, bringing astronomy to your homeland of Pakistan. All that's great. Plus these new videos and new kids material about taking a look at Orion, the constellation, and looking at Orion's belt and the different cultural traditions of which, in the East versus the Greeks and what they thought about this constellation. All that is wonderful. Then you come back to a United States of America where you, as an immigrant who's now a U.S. citizen, are feeling like with what is going on in Minneapolis, that those implications are real for you here in Western Massachusetts.
Thank you, Monty, and thank you for a warm welcome.
I'm glad to have you back. I did miss you when you were gone.
Yeah, and I should mention, we're going to come back to it. It was not inauguration, but a soft opening, which I was a speaker at. So I've been in the U.S., and that will show my age a little bit, but I've been in the U.S. for 37 years. So definitely more than half of my life, quite a bit of it, okay? We have talked about how I came in, Carl Sagan, and inspiration, sort of for astronomy and education and science and those kind of values. But it was also about the fact that laws apply over here. And again, I'm not saying something new. I mean, of course, there are preferential treatments. Of course, there are, certainly with African Americans, that have all these injustices. But that's the impression that I had. But certainly, there was a baseline assumption that once you are a citizen, you are treated at least to a certain degree with certain protection or equality. To me, it was just weird. And this is the reason I wanted to share this experience, because coming in on the plane, previously it used to be that, the immigration officer is, and it used to be the case under President Obama, actually, that I would be pulled aside and they will send me to special screening, and it would take about an hour or an hour and a half or so. And it would be annoying, but that was part and parcel of the deal. And at that time also, I was a citizen. But now it's a little bit different. The fact that I had to think about removing any social media apps on the phone and also turning off facial ID, because that was the advice I was given by ACLU lawyers as well. And they said that just remove it, because if they can open the phone, you don't know what they may find objectionable. And so just refuse to open the phone politely, by the way. I do have to be polite in these circumstances. They were also told me that. And so doing that on the plane after 37 years in the U.S. and over 17 years of being a U.S. citizen, it was a little strange to me and sad. It's just a reflection. It just is a bizarre experience.
From a scientific perspective first, I know that our brethren station WGBH had a report talking with folks from MIT about welcoming scientists from other countries to this country and the chilling effect that the Trump administration has had towards all sorts of immigration, but in this case in particular, science, where if you were a Chinese student who wanted to come to the United States and come to MIT and bring your talents and gifts to the United States, you're disincentivized at this point. You'd be better suited to stay in China and work for the Chinese. And if there is an actual competition between science in China versus science in the United States, we're not doing ourselves any favors by having this chilling effect. You were brought over here from Pakistan to bring your gifts and talents to the United States because of the welcoming environment and the atmosphere and the inspiration of Carl Sagan. And now, even though you have been a citizen for so long and have been in this country for decades, even while you're going out and about in Western Massachusetts, you're feeling afraid that you could still get picked up by ICE even here in, Hadley and Amherst.
What is happening in Minneapolis and in many other parts of the country, including what happened in LA in particular, especially during the summer and later on as well, I'm much more fortunate regarding that because of my legal status, to a certain degree. And what has happened in Minneapolis is unconscionable. But again, I was going because of all the snow, I have to say, which I did not miss when I was away. And so there is a lot of snow on the roof. And so I was looking for, no pun intended, ice melt and for the roof. And so I knew that Home Depot has been cooperating with ICE to a certain degree. And so people have been saying, okay, let's not go there, go to Lowe's. And I did go there. They didn't have ice melt. And I was like, okay, well, let's...
They were ice out.
And I was like, okay, well, that's a bit my tongue. And I was like, okay, well, let's go to Home Depot. I went into the parking lot, and there was, first of all, a Hadley trooper stationed there. I don't know exactly why, but it was a station there. But I went there, stopped my car. I'm thinking, okay, well, I shouldn't go there. I have to be there because maybe they would have ice melt. And then I get out of my car, and immediately I realize, wait a minute. I am brown-skinned. I don't have my passport with me because when I'm moving around in Hadley, Amherst or anywhere here, I don't carry passport with me. But the reason why people are avoiding Home Depot is because they are cooperating with ICE. Suddenly it dawned on me that even though I'm just a few miles from my home, my wife and kid are over there, that, wait a minute, if at this moment ICE comes in, I don't have a way to show that I'm a citizen. And what we have seen at other places, they pick up first and ask questions later, and you don't even have a chance to actually show them or convince them regarding that. And it was a weird thing to have. I mean, again, I'm a lot more privileged. I'm a professor. Monty, I talk to you every week. And I've been here for a long time. I have a legal status as a U.S. citizen. Nevertheless, I felt vulnerable. And I was like, okay, what's going to happen? And I walked in with my heart beating a bit faster. And nothing happened. But that made me unbelievably sad because of being here for 37 years and my connection to this place. And to feel suddenly, wait a minute, you can just get picked up simply of how you look.
Part of your deal with Kainat Studios, which I think is so admirable, is that, I'm looking through some of the literature that you have here, again, looking at the Orion constellation and how you have these in English, but you also have them in Urdu, which they speak in Pakistan, and Hindi, which they speak in India. Pakistan and India have not gotten along very well, but you have these beautiful photographs in this literature and on the videos of the Orion Nebula in Pakistan and the Orion Nebula in India, and how we are connected as human beings by the night sky, by the astronomy that we are observing, by the belt of Orion that an Eastern astronomer has observed as a giant in the sky, while the Greeks observe it as Orion, all connected together. And to tie it even more into pushing against this darkness, the Bad Bunny Super Bowl halftime show. The most American halftime show of all time. Yes, it was in Spanish, but his saying love overcoming hate, his parading all the flags of the Americas, all united together, saying the only things besides say cheese that he says in English in the whole thing is God bless America, trying to unite and trying to connect us. And the fact that Bad Bunny, for the same reasons you felt, did not want to tour in the continental United States with his big tour because of the fear of ICE, because of the cooperation with ICE. ICE has drawn down to a certain degree in Minnesota. ICE has drawn down in Maine. ICE hasn't had a major presence in our area or in Massachusetts yet, and they might. But I do believe that we have to push back against this darkness with love and light. And what you're doing with Kainat Studios, both here in Amherst and across the globe, because now they will hint about incorporating Kainat Studios stuff into some astronomy in the school districts of Western Massachusetts. More to come on that, perhaps. But pushing against the darkness and showing what really connects us is the only way we're going to get through this. And you're doing that hard work despite the chilling effect you have to feel as a immigrant who is now a U.S. citizen, despite how Bad Bunny and his supporters might have felt feeling othered, even though they are U.S. Americans as well.
And with that, I should mention that I was in Pakistan when Bruce Springsteen released Streets of Minneapolis. And, I was really down seeing the news and things, but I think that was amazing because that reminded me sort of like the amazing side of the US and amazing side of the people who are just fighting for their neighbors, who are under threat. And that was amazing. Look, this is also America. And that's the America that, in an idealized version, that's what I loved. That's one of the reasons why I came here. You are mentioning our videos for Kainat Kids, which are, again, centered on the idea that for kids, all you have to do is to look up. That's what drives curiosity. You can see so much. You don't need any equipment. You don't even need a telescope to identify stars, to identify planets. And the stories, and to learn about the stories that are in the sky, not just from Greeks, but others. And so one of the astronomers that we highlight is Al-Sufi, who was a 10th century Arab astronomer. And because his drawings have been beautifully digitized, in the US, by the way, they've been beautifully digitized, and we use them, we animate them a little bit. So our videos are both in English and in Urdu, and so hopefully we will have something for schools here as well. But we animate them because the cultural exchanges have been essential part of science and astronomy, and Al-Sufi was actually influenced by Greek stories, but then he absorbed those Greek stories and turned them within the Arab cultural context, and now we are using that. So all of that, I think, are part of the stories. Things are going to change, but right now we just happen to be at one of those points where you just have to scratch your head and say, really, humans? That's what you've got? That's what we're going to do? So let's hope.
Let's hope. And I am going to end it positively. Look up at the sky. Look at Orion's belt. Know that people in Pakistan are looking at it too. You can see Jupiter is beautiful right now. I always look to see if Betelgeuse has gone supernova because it's going to sometime in the next 100,000 years or so. And then, watch the Bad Bunny Super Bowl and get a little bit of love and inspiration. Watch the commercial about that young girl, the brown-skinned girl who helps that white girl find the dog. Yeah. Commercial with Mr. Rogers' song playing. That's the only thing that's going to get it through. So when you're feeling sad and blue and scared while you're going to Home Depot to melt ice, remember to find the helpers because they're there too.
I have always wanted to have a neighbor.
En poquito tiempo hablaremos sobre qué increíble sabor trajeron de Bad Bunny at Halftime Show y un poquito de nuestros perdiendo.
Qué lástima. Which is to say that we'll talk about yesterday's Super Bowl, the good and the bad.
But first, we'll head to the city with the highest per capita Puerto Rican population outside of the island to talk with Holyoke Mayor Joshua Garcia.
And create a full circle. You're listening to the Fabulous 413 on 88.5 NEPM.
The Fabulous 413 podcast is funded by Dean's Beans Organic Coffee, a locally based, worker-owned company committed to social and environmental responsibility, roasting fair trade, organic, shade-grown coffee since 1993. DeansBeans.com. The Fabulous 413 podcast is funded by Ski Sundown in nearby New Hartford, Connecticut, offering bundled lesson packages including rental equipment and lift tickets. Online registration available at skisundown.com. Winter made better.
So in my Pandora account, and I know I'm old, yes, I still use Pandora, I love it.
Better than Spotify.
Like I have the Nirvana radio, and so you know how every time you like and dislike, so over the years, it's just put together this really cool list of songs for me to listen to that are in that genre.
Yeah.
The thing with Pandora, though, I've found with just about everybody that I know that uses it, myself included, is that there's one band Pandora insists you like, and they show up on every station you make. For me, it's The Strokes. Okay. The Strokes have shown up on like classical playlists that I've made and like jazz playlists that I've made, and I'm like, what is this? At my old job, it was Coldplay.
Weird. Maybe Pandora itself had a stroke, and that's what's happening. And we have opened a Pandora's box.
Oh!
With a new segment for the Fabulous 413.
3 years in the making. We've been wanting to do this since we started.
We're calling it Mayor of the Month. And our first mayor for Mayor of the Month is the mayor of the great city of Holyoke, Massachusetts, who is now, in some ways, a mayor of mayors, Mayor Joshua Garcia. Thanks for having us. We are here at City Hall. We're here in your office, and we are observing your Pandora playlist that has now switched from Linkin Park to the band Live.
We're so excited to have you here. Thank you so much. This is what we refer to as the People's Office.
And it was when I walked in, there was a woman who was obviously going through some stuff, and your office here was assisting her through that in Spanish, which is a huge, important part of what you mean to the city of Holyoke as the first Puerto Rican mayor, because half of the population of, I think, about 38,000 people who live in this city is Hispanic, Latino in some way, shape, or form, mostly Puerto Rican.
This is a very special office. Every person that walks through that door, no matter the issue, when they walk into this space, it immediately levels and calms people down. And Nilka and Steve are fantastic, and they'll level with folks and try to help people navigate the challenges, whether or not it's a city issue. And yes, we're a city of 38,000 people. We have more Puerto Ricans living in it per capita than anywhere else in the world outside of the island.
In the whole world.
In the whole world, that's what they say. 54% Latino, and I want to say, I don't know, maybe about 38% or so of Puerto Rican descent. Because obviously we got other cultures here. We have Colombians and Dominicans and other subgroups there. And I'm the lucky guy that gets to facilitate the services for the community.
You're in the beginning of your second term. You were unopposed back in November, so you just re-sworn in again in January last month. But when you were first elected, how meaningful it was to so many people in the city of Holyoke to see themselves represented in the highest office of Holyoke.
We're a city of immigrants and migrants. You know, we're a very compassionate city, and every corner of our city is vastly different with demographics, economically, culturally, the language you speak. And you get one mayor, and throughout the course of the city's history, you know, you have seen other cultural groups represented in this office. And, you know, finally, when you become the first Puerto Rican mayor, for example, that has a meaningful impact for a lot of people that identify with the culture. But even though that might be the case, you know, I tell folks that I'm a Holyoker, born and raised in this community. I have my own family roots and stories to share that contributes to the fabric of this city just as much as other groups have contributed to this community, and identify as Hoyokers. And it's important because that's where all the cultures unite for the love of this city, while we also recognize and acknowledge everyone's backgrounds. And so we celebrate it all.
We mentioned you ran unopposed, and I'm curious if that fact made some things easier for this office for you, where you didn't necessarily have to split your attention between campaigning and making sure that this office was doing that it needed to.
I could tell you that running unopposed was very frustrating.
Really?
Yeah,
really?
Totally. Listen, I believe in the idea of self-governance, and voter turnout is already extremely low everywhere. When I first ran for mayor, there were 6 of us running, and 6 of us were pounding the pavement hard, knocking on doors, getting people out to vote. And even with 6 of us doing all that work, spending all that money, voter turnout was only 30%. Now, that's good, but still low. Folks pay more attention to the mayor's race than they do the council race. And when the mayor is not, I'm on the ballot, but, you know, with no opponent, it doesn't really allow me to connect at the neighborhood level at a meaningful way when you're competing to connect with voters. And in that process, I'm a human being. I need to understand if whether or not I'm doing is a good job. And the only way you can do that is by keeping your finger on the pulse and knocking on those doors. Running unopposed, did it help me focus on other things? Yeah, sure, absolutely, right? There are other day-to-day needs, priorities, initiatives that we're tackling here. But if I'm not at the neighborhood level constantly engaging with the public, that then can create some challenges for me here, because people want to know what's going on and what the plan is and how come this is not being. I don't live in every corner of the city, and I rely on the different methods available to me to filter up information and know that I'm doing what the people want me to do. So I was really bummed out when I didn't have a challenger, but you know, we had a very interesting council race.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, your council, Holyoke City Council, the most interesting council in the 4-1.
I couldn't sit on the sideline. I was like, I got to get involved. And so I treated a particular counselor as if he was running for mayor, and I went to town.
And is it Jourdain, fair to say, the counselor who you were not running against, but is ideologically opposed to some of the things that you have brought to the city, and has for a long time been ideologically opposed to, let's say, the more progressive end of things versus the kind of more conservative end?
I was just going to say, has proven himself to be a literal and figurative roadblock in the way of some of the things that Holyoke has wanted to do.
And the Joshua Garcia agenda moves forward, unopposed, and with a council that is largely supportive of the things that you have been behind. And maybe that's a good place to start. The Municipal Finance Modernization Act, it's something you've been wanting to work on for a long time that have been stymied by some roadblocks. What is this act? Why is it so important to you? And why are you taking a little victory lap now that it's actually going to be enacted?
So I'll remind you that I once ran for city treasurer nearly a decade ago or so. At that time, I tried to communicate to the broader public concerns that were being raised in the annual audits that have been produced for 20 plus years. I lost that race, and fast forward, I ended up running for mayor. So when I first campaigned, we ran a management campaign. It wasn't a sexy campaign at all. You know, folks were like, they want to know, how are you going to do public safety and improve our schools and, hey, fix our infrastructure? And I was able to build some experience as town administrator in a small town outside of Westfield, the town of Blandford. The campaign was really about the municipal manager that knows how to balance a budget and navigate mass general law and keep up with municipal services. And I campaigned around the fact that we can't effectively keep up with the quality of life issues people care about, whether if it's infrastructure or public safety or education, if we're not taking care of our house first. And currently, the house is not in order, and we need to focus on internal controls. And the word I kept using, and my campaign team hated it, was interoperability.
It is a hard one to say.
I said, we need to improve the interoperability. And I'm all excited about it. Everyone was like,
no one can pronounce this.
Yeah.
Why? But people came around and said, this guy sounds like he knows what he's talking about, and we see what and essentially, the rest is history. So for 4 years, we've been really trying to figure out how to navigate our political structure here to implement systematic changes in our ordinance as well as our city charter. And so when you ask me what the Municipal Finance Modernization Act really is, a package of a series of changes that change creating a financial department, consolidating the treasurer collector, hiring a chief administrative financial officer, CAFO. You know who's in charge of our city finances of the city? The mayor. So the elected mayor is in charge of a $180 million budget, no matter what your background is. The treasurer was elected. The auditor, which is our city accountant, was appointed by the city council. The board of assessors was appointed by the city council. The tax collector was appointed by the city council. The mayor had no oversight control authority over its financial departments, but yet you're responsible for keeping up with the municipal finances expectations of the city. And so when I campaigned and throughout the 4 years I've been explaining to people is the issues that we're experiencing, the quality of life challenges is a symptom of a bigger problem, and it's systemic, that we need to change so we can better keep up with these concerns that are being identified in this audit. You need 9 votes on the council to make those system changes. And I didn't have those 9 votes. We were always blocked by, we call them the minority group of the council. And so this last race was very important, and I couldn't sit on the sideline. There was urgency here, and we needed to be serious in these changes. So the voters responded.
We are sitting in the mayor's office at City Hall in the city of Holyoke. Our brand new segment, Mayor of the Month, and our first mayor is Holyoke Mayor Joshua Garcia. And we thought it'd be a good place to start this segment because just last month, you were elected the president of the Massachusetts Mayors Association, the president of the MMA. So you're going to be doing all sorts of mixed martial arts.
I know people think that.
Holyoke's a volleyball town, not a martial arts town necessarily.
How many matches do you have this weekend?
Birthplace of volleyball. But tell us what this association is and what it means to you that you were elected as the head of, I don't know, how many mayors are there? 50-something mayors in the Commonwealth?
There's about 47 mayors. So MMA, there's 3, yes, martial arts, but 2 MMAs. There's the Mass Municipal Association, and then there's a subgroup of that, or there's multiple subgroups. You have, when I was at Blandford, I was part of the Small Town Administrators of Massachusetts, STAM for short. And there was also, under the umbrella of the Mass Municipal Association, is the Mass Mayors Association. For 10 years now, since I was at Pioneer Valley Planning Commission, I became a member of the MMA, the Municipal Association, then continued to be actively involved through STAM. And let me tell you, the Massachusetts Municipal Association is like the guide organization for all local government leaders. It is the institution that really helps you navigate challenges and find you the support you need to overcome them and improve the quality of life in your communities. So here I am now. I got voted in to be the chair of the Mayor's Association, and all it really means is just more work for me and zero pay. But it's a good group of folks. It's a key hub for cross-municipal collaboration to understand statewide issues, how it's affecting us locally.
What have you learned in these meetings in the past? Like, there have been things that we as citizens of Western Massachusetts may not realize is something that grew out of these meetings of mayors and municipal leaders.
Yeah, there have been. Chapter 90 funding for roads. Public roads that we all drive on and depend on. Cities and towns depend on allocations of what they call Chapter 90 to keep up with the maintenance of our roads. That formula is inadequate. There's not enough that we collect in Chapter 90 to actually keep up with the conditions of roads, especially with climate change having a much more major effect on the conditions of our roads. And so that's one of several things that we'll push to make sure that we're increasing and getting the state to support so that we can essentially take care of more roads. The Student Opportunity Act, particularly for gateway cities, trying to adequately fund a Chapter 70 formula to fund our school systems, among other things.
Come on in.
How do you want your coffee?
Oh, just black.
Black.
Thank you.
Black.
No sugar, no.
Nope.
No sugar. All right, black coffee drinkers.
High five.
We're part of the club.
I drink
clubbish.
I drink my coffee blacker than me.
Me too.
Coffee's not supposed to taste good. The more disgusting it is, the better the coffee is.
You can have it black and be smooth. It's totally fine. The Holyoke schools are out of receivership. What has that change meant for the last year of your last term? Like, what has that shifted for education in Holyoke?
And I'll also add, at the end of last year, the Boston Globe did a piece that
Friends at the Boston Globe.
It was not an overly glowing piece about the state of the schools in Holyoke just a few months after the end of receivership.
Is there anything ever glowing coming out of the Boston Globe? I
don't know.
Well, so here's the deal. We were in receivership for 10 years.
Which means the state's in control of the school system instead of the local school district.
And let's talk about this idea of receivership in general, whether if it's municipalities or a school. The state's not really interested or in the business of wanting to take over school districts, right? This is about, remember earlier in our conversation, I shared with you a little bit of how important it is to self-govern because there are services that people depend on every single day. And if your government isn't in order, it has an impact to the quality of the service. But here we're talking about young children, and there's debates left and right, like, it's a gateway city, the systematic quality of life challenges that are happening here versus other communities. But then again, we're expected to keep up with scores in more affluent communities. That's a whole nother conversation. And there's a debate about, whether or not it was the right thing to do to take over. Whatever that debate is, we can get into. But right now, the reality was the state was in control of our district. And when I campaigned, I committed to figuring out how we can transition back to local control. And there's outcomes that are one part of the conversation. That's a very important part of the conversation. But then there's also the governance structure in our city, and if whether or not the politics here is keeping up with the important decisions that our youth and the people that work in our buildings depend on. So like investing in our schools, policies, whatever we're voting on. There was a time in our city where we had divide in the council. We had divide on the school board. Both the council and the school board never really kind of jived or there was much unity there. So we had a lot of work to do to first get to the root of what it means to self-govern, and that's to make sure that our structure was okay. And so this school board, since we were in receivership, the first note of success is that they've still met every single month, even though we were in a voluntary capacity. And not only did they meet every single month, they met together every month with the appointed receiver. And the collaboration there was noted and reflected very positively. And that's an important part before you can even consider whether or not you're ready to transition to making big decisions in control of the entire school district. And so the committee definitely proved themselves on that front, and that was the argument that I made when I would have conversations with the governor's administration. And then, there was some benchmarks we had to hit to make sure that, we were ready for that transition. So when you ask me, why is it important? And it all goes back to public dollars, self-government. When we start shying away from the idea of controlling things that are publicly funded, that's when we start becoming less and less what the idea is of living in the United States when they say freedom, right? This freedom to self-govern and make decisions for our own communities. The governor, I got to give her a shout out, and her commitment to make sure that this transition happened has been fantastic. It wasn't that she just said, yes, no problem, I'm going to give it to you. She obviously did her team did their own due diligence to make sure we were ready, as they should. And all I was trying to do was to find a right alignment in our partnership between our local government and the state so that we can figure out together what this transition looks like and hit our benchmarks in that process to be responsible stewards of self-governing our district. And we proved that. And I think that was the big part of why the transition was ultimately supported.
We're going to go back to talking about your new mojo for the city of Holyoke. You wrote a great piece for The Republican about why 2026 is going to be the year for Holyoke, unlike any other years. You put out a challenge to the media that I want to talk about, but we have to talk about...
I got to clarify this challenge thing, man, but yes.
Yeah, we'll clarify that in a second.
No, bring it.
This is kind of what we do all the time, but we don't shy away from the tough issues too. And there was a city councilor, Israel Rivera, who was pulled over for drunk driving, who used some unfortunate language and also name-checked you, which is the only reason I'm bringing it up. It could have been a Will Smith, keep my name out your mouth situation for you.
Yeah, that's pretty much what happened.
He's still on the city council. He has resigned from certain committees. But the police union in Holyoke is saying this councilor, Israel Rivera, should resign and not have any control over anything that has to do with policing, including budgets. Do you have any comment about whether Israel Rivera should resign?
No comment. No, just kidding. I'm joshing you.
That's your name, after all, Mayor Josh.
Hey, here's what it comes down to. This is dinner table conversation, right? Like, it's being talked about because there's so many different paths in this conversation. There's the actual DUI.
Yeah.
Right? And then there's the incidents and things he said.
Right.
And each of these things has affected a lot of people in different ways.
Right.
And it's created debate everywhere, which I appreciate on any issue that comes up. Talk, learn, grow, and we're going to figure out how to build consensus and move forward, right? That's always my positive attitude about anything that comes my way. The DUI, look, man, it's a serious issue. You got people who have lost loved ones in incidents. And, obviously, Councilor Rivera certainly has taken responsibility to that. Yes, I have 13 counselors. I'm very good friends with, I want to say 11 of them. I know a lot of people in Holyoke. I've built a lot of relationships with a lot of people, right? And Izzy and I grew up at the Boys and Girls Club. I'm very proud how he's handling himself on that particular issue. Then you got this whole other important piece of the debate here, or the conversation. He should not recuse himself from voting on anything police matter. We can't tell I can't tell a counselor what to do. The legislative branch is a separate function of the executive, and I don't control what any counselor says or does when they're out there. I can't even control my mom and what she says and does. So many times she goes out there and says, I'm the mayor's mom. You know what I mean? And I tell her, can you please stop doing that? And she does it anyways.
Keep my name out. No.
Keep my name out your mouth.
I made you.
And obviously what counselors do and say doesn't reflect the executive side of the administration, and I have no authority. The only accountability is for any of us elected officials when we do so is at the ballot box during voting season, and that's where folks really get held accountable. But then at the last meeting, he said, I'm not going to step down as a city councilor. And I've been reflecting a lot about the words he said that night, which goes back to what it is when you grow up in Holyoke. The median household income in the 4 census tract downtown Holyoke is less than $27,000 a year. So you can only imagine the quality of life challenges a lot of people are dealing with growing up in the city. I grew up in South Holyoke. He grew up in the Flats. Poor neighborhoods, different paths we chose. Israel Rivera represents the path that exists for many people that experience hardship or have been arrested for DUI or have had an issue with a police officer. So in a way, he's representing a large part of our city in that sense that nobody's perfect. We make these mistakes. The big thing for any leader, though, however, when you're in a leadership role like this, you got to lead by example, is how you respond when these issues happen. that we have some issues in front of us. And as a community, we're going to work together and navigate them so that I continue to be an effective leader for you while I serve you guys on the council. Then you got the police union coming out, rightfully so. I mean, I don't have any opinion or comment on that. Another interested party in this whole thing that also have their own concerns in the process. And so here we have a community coming together in their own perspectives of the world and experiences, contributing to the conversation, and a counselor that is in the process of receiving this information and rebuilding himself up so that he can be an effective leader. I think that's honorable. I'm like, hey, that's great. Just don't do it again, please.
I want to talk about your social media game because I think out of all of the mayors, at least in the area, you're by far the most active on it. And some of the things that you're doing on it are really interesting, innovative, and honestly a lot of that community connecting. You went to visit a homeless encampment, like you've called out landlords who aren't doing their jobs, and like shout out some of the really good accomplishments of folks in the community. How important a part of this office is that in connecting you to the public? Because I don't live in Holyoke, but I know all of those things because I follow you.
Well, when you go to these trainings and you try to understand the best practices of how to connect with constituents, they always say like stay away from social media, and I'm like, why? The most important part of government is also the most difficult, and that's effectively getting communication out to 100% of your population and getting them engaged. You have to be creative. You have to leverage the different sources available to you, whether if it's a press release, but guess what? Not everyone's reading the paper anymore, right? But there are people that still do, so we do press releases. I have the robocall system that goes, I can really use that anytime I want, but I try not to annoy people with the robocalls, but if there's critical things that need to be shared, we got to get on the robocall system. I have a newsletter email that I send out that people follow. I have 13 counselors that have their arm reach to people. And then you got the social media platforms, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat. I use them all. I got the Twitter account, or now X. It's a lot of work, but it saves me a bigger headache because people are not always paying attention to what's happening. And when they're in groups, they start formulating opinions and start reacting. People start getting mad and they're wondering what's going on and how come and why aren't we doing anything about this issue? And it's my way of keeping my finger on the pulse, see what the chatter is like, and just making sure that I'm keeping up with what people are wondering. The snow day, obviously we all knew we were getting a lot of snow. And I committed throughout the duration of the storm. I told the team, I said, look, I'm going all in on social media. That's where people are posting their frustrations, right? Like, the car not being moved, or like, oh, my boiler just went and the landlord is not fixing the heater. I have no running hot water. I get to review that and call up my Board of Health and say, hey, can you just look into this for me? And people, like, they appreciate that, because here's what happens. People start calling here, and then I got to explain myself 100 times to 100 different people. At least when I do that and people are at the dinner table and they make a comment, someone at the dinner table is going to say, no, I saw him say something on social media, and it's alleviated the problem, right? They're not calling here.
You have issued a proclamation to the media to focus on 10 things that are great about Holyoke, and you have promised a prize. Now, I know that Mike Baxendale, from Bax and Nagel on Rock 102.
Prize.
That's what he said.
I know that's what he said.
He gave a very funny rundown, he did good. A little bit tongue-in-cheek about what is great about Holyoke.
The first to report 10 great things wins a prize. So let's give it a shot. Recently, I went to the Holyoke Mall. It was nice. Last week, I went to Nick's Nest for a hot dog. Hot dogs are delicious. Holyoke is the birthplace of volleyball. That's a pretty fun game.
I'm going to ask you. You don't have to do 10, but spitballing right now, what are the things that you think are great, that you think that the media and people like us should be focusing on about what's great about Holyoke right now?
When I think of all the different organizations, whether if it's folks helping people with mental health disabilities or youth programs like our local youth commission, we have Palante youth organization and the things that they're involved with to try to make their city and their experience as youth growing up here better. What's happening in our schools, none of it gets reflected. Look, in my challenge, I never said don't write anything negative. The things that are going on are real things. Go ahead, do what you do. I invite it. But you can't sit there and tell me that we don't have any we have equally good things too. Good and bad is always, you know what I mean? And so when I see surrounding communities, and nor do I want to encourage them to write bad things about surrounding communities, but like, you know, we have cultural celebrations too, and we have ribbon cuttings, and we have community-wide cleanups, and we have all the choice of wordplay with the headlines, the pictures they use. It just feels very skewed when they talk about poor communities. And it's always Holyoke and Springfield. All I'm saying is look, for this month, please do me a favor and try to find more positive things. Don't stop writing on what you think is important. Please, by all means, hold us accountable. But find 10. And the first one of these news sources, which was Mass Live, Western Mass News, and WWLP 22, hits 10. I didn't say you win a prize, you just win. You win.
We'll get them a signed
And let me tell
Holyoke
you,
volleyball.
as far as my post was concerned, overwhelmingly positive response to it. Journalists, not so happy about it. And I'm like, what? I don't understand. I'm not asking you to do anything different than what you're already doing. I'm just saying, can we add a little bit more positive? And the analogy I use is like when you tell a parent that their baby's ugly. And I'm like, okay, fine, my baby might be ugly, but look how he dances. Look how polite he is, and he's so helpful to people. Are we just gonna focus on how ugly the baby is? Come on, give me a break here.
Part of a good reminder to everybody that not all babies are cute.
I think they are, and I love how they dance and all that stuff too. One of the positive things is the Super Bowl. The Bad Bunny effect for Puerto Rican communities over the last 2 weeks. Album of the year, playing the Super Bowl halftime show. This icon of Puerto Rican culture.
Regardless of whether other Americans remember that Puerto Rico is a part of the United States.
Right.
Isn't that crazy?
Being the biggest percentage of Puerto Ricans outside of Puerto Rico in the city of Holyoke, per capita, it must be a big deal.
And Springfield is the 4th largest city with the population, the amount of people they have of Puerto Rican descent.
Apart from all the Bad Bunny stuff, there is another important piece of the Super Bowl puzzle for the city of Holyoke, and you have shown us this over here. Tell us about this.
So Hazen Paper Company is the last standing paper company here
In the paper city.
in the paper city, now known as the Rolling Paper City.
I love that. I almost took my coffee.
And for 20 plus years, they've been doing the holographic design of the cover of the Super Bowl program. And that's the program that attendees that go to the Super Bowl is the program that they get when they go and watch the game. And so on that cover, you know, they have their special design in the front, and on the back, they always put the halftime artist who's performing on the back. And
I'm looking at it
here
right
you
now.
have Bad Bunny on a goalpost, and you can only understand, you know, being the first Puerto Rican mayor in this city, in a community where we have a lot of Puerto Ricans that live in it, the pride is through the roof. And, you know, there's a global impact here. There are so many groups and cultures. The guy's an icon at the moment.
He's the biggest star in the entire globe when it comes to
and
music.
because he's of Puerto Rican descent, just like anybody else, right? Like, I'm always happy for any of my brothers and sisters in different cultures. We have a strong Polish community. We have a very strong Irish community. When I see them represented in something important, that's a good thing. And when people get a turn to see their group in a stage like that, that brings a lot of pride to the folks that are of that descent.
Worth noting that the first time the Patriots won the Super Bowl, the Irish band U2 was the Super Bowl halftime performance. So.
And I'm sure Irish community was proud everywhere, even in Ireland, right? And that's great. We need to embrace that. Like, that's important for people. And you know what? We unite as Americans. And as Americans, we're people of diversity, and we need to celebrate differences. And all of us need to continue to keep harping on that, because humans, we forget and we go backwards and we divide again, and we become less of what it means to be an American. And these moments right here allow for the conversations to happen. Yes, people do believe that Puerto Rico isn't part of the United States. But guess what? Now they know, right?
I do love that Hazen Paper, based in Holyoke, on the cover, though, of the Super Bowl program that they printed here with a great hologram on the piece of paper that they put at the front. It says, "May the best team win," but May is spelled M-A-Y-E. I hope everybody at the Super Bowl got this cover sheet as well. This is our inaugural Mayor of the Month, Mayor Joshua Garcia, who is now at the head of the Council of Mayors for the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, the Paper City, birthplace of volleyball here at City Hall. Thank you so much for welcoming us here. I'm glad we got to kick it off with you.
I think Bax won that competition. I think I'm just going to end the competition and just give it to Bax.
He did it.
Good job, Bax.
He did do a good job.
Holyoke is known as the Paper City. That's interesting. Mount Tom and East Mountain are both in Holyoke, yet Mount Holyoke isn't. That's pretty curious.
Holyoke does have a lot of fun stuff.
Oh, fun stuff.
God bless America. Sea Chile, Argentina.
All of them. Also, I have to say, like, don't end the competition with Bax. Other people should be able to, like, throw their hat in this proverbial ring.
Yes.
Yes. And thanks so much to Mayor Joshua Garcia's office for allowing us some time with him. That was really fun. Speaking of Puerto Rican culture, last night we all got to see a little bit of it during the break where the Patriots fans nationwide were coming to terms with a very sad reality.
Yes, and we would be remiss to not talk about it at least a little bit. So we shall, featuring the newly minted New England Patriots correspondent, my 12-year-old son, Pax.
You're listening to the Fabulous 413 on 88.5 NEPM.
The Fabulous 413 podcast is funded by Northeast Solar, helping Western Mass families achieve greater energy independence through solar power, battery systems, and air source heat pumps. Northeast-solar.com.
Well, last week on the show, New England Patriots correspondent my dad and future New England Patriots correspondent my son, 12-year-old Pax, and I went to Gillette Stadium to send the Patriots off to Santa Clara, California for Super Bowl 60, where they would take on the Seattle Seahawks. And now that Super Bowl is over. Pax, this was your first Patriots fan Super Bowl as a sentient human being. The Patriots did not win. Thoughts on the Super Bowl?
I thought it was a terrible game until the fourth quarter.
There was like a 2-minute window there where the Patriots had a little bit of spunk and made it seem like they might want to turn this into a game. But other than that, it was pretty terrible.
Gonzalez did really good, though.
Gonzalez kept it from being an absolute blowout. Number 0, defense.
Number 0 is his nickname.
It is his number as well, yeah. Other thoughts on the game?
It's fun. Fun once they lost.
Once you knew they were going to lose and just could lean into the fact that you could appreciate that they were there in the first place. It's not a destination, it's a journey, right? It's the stops along the way. It's not where you end up. They made it a fun season. Yeah. Nobody expected it to be a season like this, and they turned it into a fun season, a more fun season than we could have ever imagined.
But it is the destination. That's the whole point of the season.
God, I know. Like that time the Patriots were undefeated and then lost the Super Bowl. Oh, it's not the journey. It is the destination. I hate that. Were there any commercials that you liked?
I like the Andy Samberg, Neil Diamond one.
I like that too.
Sweet sandwich time. Hellman's makes it taste so good.
Just because I love Neil Diamond, yeah.
There was no other really good commercials that I haven't seen already.
What about that Dunkin' commercial?
Oh, that was funny, yeah.
Hey, kid, if you're still single doing this Boston shtick and working for Dunkin' when you're 50, I'm gonna be very disappointed.
Isn't that your girlfriend?
You like donuts?
Yeah.
Well, this is my new boyfriend. How you like these nuts?
I'm Tom.
What about the Sam Elliott commercial about the Mandalorian and Grogu?
Awesome.
This is the way.
And we watched it at the home of the person who brought Sam Elliott to Turner's Falls for the man who killed Hitler and then the Bigfoot. That's the Super Bowl party we were at. So that was really fun to see that there. That was my number one favorite Super Bowl commercial. 18-year-old Enzo Belmonte, film student at Clark University, full disclosure, underwriter of NEPM. Your take on the Super Bowl?
Can I tell my joke?
Yes.
Drake has been destroyed the last 2 Super Bowls.
Damn it! Okay, olds. Drake is a rapper, and there was a rap battle between Drake and Kendrick Lamar last year. And Kendrick Lamar was the Super Bowl halftime entertainment last year, and during the Super Bowl halftime show, did his song that was the ultimate epic takedown of Drake. And now, Drake May is the quarterback for the New England Patriots, and Drake May was destroyed.
What I'd like to have back, I'd like to go back to the beginning and redo it, but...
So that is why Drake was destroyed in the last 2 Super Bowls. Copyright Enzo Belmonte 2026. Good joke, Enzo. You're following in the family footsteps. What about the Bad Bunny halftime show?
It's good. Couldn't understand any of it.
I thought it was great.
I loved it.
I haven't unpacked what's real and what's not real about all the rumors I've heard about this. I rarely engage on social media about political things, but there were people that were like, that show was the worst. It was garbage. And I just was like, I loved every minute of it. I'm just trying to be positive. I think he was positive. It was so beautiful. It was a wedding. There was nothing not to love. It was unity and love. And maybe you didn't understand all the language, but that's your problem. I loved it. And also, if a lot of the rumors about it are true, it would be even more awesome, but they're probably not.
I think the wedding one is probably true.
Could have been the actual kid who got picked up by ICE. Probably not. Why would you put that kid on the biggest stage of all time after ICE already picked him up? That poor kid. Anyway, they didn't win. Patrick Pizzotti, former owner of Turn It Up CDs in Northampton and beyond, posted on social media, Patriots are ahead of schedule. To me, that's the best way to look at it. Nobody expected them to go this far this quickly. They are ahead of schedule. In 2 years, they may get back there and they may win the Super Bowl. But this was a little premature celebration, let's say.
Tom Brady probably choked his first year.
No, he didn't. He won the Super Bowl in his first year. Yeah, he came out from behind. He was was second string.
It was
for context. When Tom Brady won the first Super Bowl in the 2001/2002 Super Bowl, 9/11 had just happened. U2 did the halftime show, my favorite band at that time. And my band was playing the House of Blues in Boston, and everybody I knew was there at the show and at the Super Bowl watching it at the House of Blues. And they won. It might have been the greatest night of my entire life. Tom Brady kept his head in the game and won the Super Bowl. Drake May?
It was also mostly the O-line, the offensive line.
You blame whoever you want. May the odds be ever in your favor next time they come to the Super Bowl.
That wasn't really very funny.
It wasn't that funny. Drake May go to the Super Bowl again.
Hopefully.
But since I didn't watch the game and only watched the halftime show, let's talk about that a little bit because it was super cool. I don't think I've seen one with as big a set piece as he had. Like telephone poles and giant fields of sugarcane, not to mention like all of the shops, like all of the local community like linchpins that he put in all of linchpins. That's how that word works. Throughout all of those set pieces, and it was just like it was phenomenal.
He brought the casita, the little house that he used when he was in Puerto Rico and he did his residency there. And what was fun about the residency and the Super Bowl was the fun guests that you can see on the porch. So you might have glimpsed Pedro Pascal there, and Cardi B was there on the porch.
Yep. Jessica Alba.
Yeah. And to bring Ricky Martin out again to perform, I think was really meaningful.
Who sounds insane and also looks like he's never aged.
I know. It must be the air in the island.
I don't know what it is. It's a good husband.
Yes. And speaking of husbands, an actual marriage during the Super Bowl halftime show. That was a real wedding.
Yeah, and during the reception part of the show, I loved that he's walking through the crowd, dancing through the crowd, and saying, "Dance without fear."
Yeah.
And like for everybody that couldn't understand the Spanish. And like in addition to the list of all the countries in all of the Americas, like that was perhaps like my favorite part of him just like dancing and say like dance without fear, just dance.
I think so many people were afraid it was going to be political and divisive, but it was political and inclusive.
Yes.
It was such a wonderful message of love and unity and what it means to me to be an American. And what it could mean, and I think has meant for so many people over so many years of what it means to be an American. If you hearken back to what Salman Hamid said at the beginning of the show, it represented the best ideals of what this country can and should still have to offer.
And I love also that he was putting the lyrics on the billboard behind. I was like, oh, great, I understand what you're saying now.
Puerto Rican Spanish is hard to understand.
It is very hard to understand.
As we have mentioned before. But
sometimes.
Yes, if you didn't catch it, I couldn't urge you more strongly to check out.
However, NFL, you make billions of dollars on this. You don't need to interrupt the video of it every 20 seconds with another ad. Did we not get enough ads during the actual Super Bowl? Come on. Where's your money? Where's it coming from?
Well, on the next Fabulous 413, we'll visit the only grocery store in the area with a greenhouse on its roof at Fruit Fair in Chicopee.
We'll also talk with Double Edge Theater founder Stacey Klein about her brand new book, The Alchemy of Living Culture.
And we'll learn about a virtuosic combination of Quebecois and Cape Breton music, as well as dance coming to Bombyx in Florence with Cecilia. I'm Monty Belmonte.
I'm Khalil Smith. We'll talk to you tomorrow on the Fabulous 413.
Con reggaetón y dembow.